All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another quest eye on the quest to illuminate the single eye. And it's a little bit different today if you are listening to the recording, especially. So I just played a song Here in Spirit by Jim James. And unfortunately, I won't be able to continue playing those songs actually in the recording. So those will be a Telegram exclusive, if you will. So if you want to come listen to the songs with us, definitely come check us out live on Telegram. But of course, it's very easy to find this song. So if you want to go ahead and listen to the song before we start breaking down the lyrics, go check it out. Jim James, Here in Spirit. You can pause this and then come back to this. So we're going to do a quick lyrical breakdown and check out what's in store. I didn't for those watching the music video, I didn't know there was such a political heavy narrative in there, but yeah, Jim James is definitely a very, he knows what he's talking about and he knows what he's singing about. And so for whatever reason that was inserted at the time, I'm sure it's a good one. But the song Here in Spirit is much deeper than anything political. And it's really about the death and rebirth, the solve et coagula, or the dissolve and reform, the dark night of the soul, the ego death, and then coming back to being born again, the true meaning of being born again. So let's break it down. No compromise, but willing to sacrifice. So no compromise is this is the designation of will to say, I'm ready to take this leap of faith. I'm ready to jump off into the unknown. I'm ready to let the old self die so that I can be born again. Believe what you want. Go on, as in it doesn't need a particular religion or flavor to mean anything. It's all just one story. Go on and be who you are. Go out and get what you want, full of life. So this is the letting go of the death to come back into life. So then it continues, the stone is thrown, it's coming fast. The next thing you know, it's crashing through the glass. So what's the glass represent? It's the ego self. This is persona, this identity that seems really rigid. It seems really firm, but it shatters very easily when a stone of truth comes through. When we realize that we are not this form, we are not this identity, we are something so much more. And so then when we have this ego death of that glass being broken, then we're down on our knees, picking up the scraps, whatever it takes, we're going to build it back. So that's reforming after the dissolve, the death and rebirth. If you don't speak out, we can't hear it. So this is kind of being sung from the other side, maybe from from all those who come before, who've walked this path, who have realized, our angelic guides, our ascended masters, whomever you want to frame in that position, because it's ultimately you as well, but it's just a realized version of you saying, if you don't speak out, we can't hear it. As in, we have to make that declaration. We have to say, I'm ready for the next stage. I'm ready for this next form. Our love is always here in spirit. So just as a reminder that even if it feels so lost or desperate, or the separation becomes so scary or intense, just know that their love, our love, your love is always there on the other side, here in spirit. And all those who came before, here in spirit. And all those who came before, here in spirit. So again, repeating, no compromise. It takes that full step off. That's the will. That's really the only will needed from an from the lower form, the lower self, the egoic identity is, well, and it's not even really you, but to have that will to give it back, to say, I'm done with the sort of pseudo will of the lower form, the autopilot form of the ego, and I'm ready to give it back, to embrace the will, our will, the monad's will, the highest will. But that's the no compromise. It can't be, you have to be all in with that. You can't serve two masters. If that means to an end's in sight, and once the work is done, go celebrate what you like. Go on and dance to the night. Once we go on, be one with the light, full of life. So once we've realized this, that's the Christic path. Once we've realized this, and I was about to say fully, but it's a continually evolving realization, and we might realize it for a moment, for a split second, for a day, for a year, for a lifetime. But we do fall out of realizing it as well. And so it's this dance that when we need to come back and step back into realization, we do that, whether that's through meditation or whatever practice or state of position you want to find yourself in, or you want to put yourself in, to come back to that state of realization so that I can walk with that. So once the work is done, once I've done what I need to do to tame the ego, to put it in its place, not to kill it, not to, because it can't be. It's a part of us. It's a part of this experience. It's what makes this experience possible. But if it takes over, then that's where all the problems, that's where all hell breaks loose, right? So do the work, and once the work is done, once I'm back in the driver's seat, then go celebrate what you like. Go on and dance through the night. Go back and be in the physical experience. We're not here to dissipate and float out of this experience. We came here to be here. We came here to ground into it, but never lose sight of that lifeline, that tether that brings us back into connection with who you really are, the monad, pure awareness, source consciousness. So go on and be with the light. Dance through the night. Recognize that this duality is merely for an experience. And what a beautiful one it is. So the stone is thrown. It's coming fast, as in we've made that call, and we're asking for, be careful what you ask for, right? when you do step onto it, it does mean the dissolution of really everything, right? Or at least the attachment to it. Whatever is no longer serving this realized self. So if there are attachments, then they will fall away. And so that's why, just a quick side note, that's why when some people begin to awaken and their life on a surface level seems to go to shit, right? At least by other people's standards, their life falls apart. But that's what sometimes needs to happen, pretty much always needs to happen in some way or somehow, in order to step off of that particular wheel and spiral outward, continue expanding. That wheel has to break. We have to break out of it. So it has to crumble. So the stone is thrown, it's coming fast. The next thing you know, it's crashing through the glass. Your life's falling apart. Now we're down on our knees, picking up the scraps, whatever it takes, we're going to build it back. The resolve to rebuild, and to let the old weight, the old identity, the old attachment stay fallen away. And we will naturally reattach ourselves to some other form of things that will also have to be broken again. And this is just a part of the process, to where it just becomes as natural as breathing, right? Where every breath becomes that process of dying to what was, so I can be reborn to what is. And some moments are easier than others, But when we embrace the process, it doesn't become as overwhelming as when we become overly attached. So again, if you don't speak out, we can't hear it. Our love was always here in spirit, and all those who came before here in spirit. So our guides are always here, reminding us. And don't you know, you can call on me here in spirit. We can call on our guides. We can call on our higher self. We can call on the angels, archangels, however you want to frame it. There's no wrong way to look at it, as long as it doesn't become a dogmatic religious thing to grasp and attach ourselves to, right? Because ultimately it's you. You're calling on you. You're calling on the realized pure awareness, pure consciousness form of you, the monad. So don't you know you can call on me? That lifeline. So call on me 4 times, fourfold nature of man. And then, the Christ. The Christ always pointing us back. The compass pointing us home. So that no matter how far we fall into the muck, the mire, we align ourselves back to realize. So anyway, that is that song, Here in Spirit by Jim James. A great song. He's got a lot of good ones. And again, apologies for the shift in format of not being able to play it on the recording. But I'm just not able to do that and post to YouTube as easily. So we're just going to have to shift like that. And I do have some other ideas on ways that we can continue doing decoding that way. But I think at the very least, just to have one fun one at the beginning of the show where we can at least go through the breakdown. And like I said, if you're here on Telegram, then you can hear it with us. But if you're not, it's very easy to find, wherever you listen to music, YouTube, Spotify, wherever, just plug it in and have a listen. It's a great song. So again, welcome to another quest on the quest to illuminate the single eye. I'll turn on my camera here, and appreciate everyone for being here. It's been a fun little step away, this time of reflection and stillness, and I'm still very much in it. I've been, as I posted a couple weeks ago, I've been practicing the Rudolf Steiner's version of the 12 Holy Nights, which is taking every night from the 24th, so Christmas Eve, all the way 12 nights after, which I believe goes until January 5th, and having a different intention aligned with a different zodiac, a different sort of sense, a different pause, and really getting clear, and then mapping out dreams and seeing what comes. This is a powerful transformational point. And while I don't believe that this is the quote unquote new year, it is a big momentum shift. So the new year, in my eyes, happens in the spring. You could debate on exactly what point that happens. I like to just look at the equinox, because that makes the most sense when the days start to shift again, and we spring to new life. That's the true new year, but somewhere around there makes more sense, because that's when we're springing to new life, not in the dead of winter. But this point, as we're really going deep into winter, really the beginning of the winter season, is very powerful. It's a huge momentum shift, just as all seasonal shifts are. And what is winter about? It's about releasing, letting go of what no longer serves us, and stepping into a new possibilities. And so we can use this next 3 months to really go deep into that work and releasing what no longer serves, so that we are prepared for that springing to new life. And I certainly have been. And on top of that, it's like I'm also feeling a huge burst of energy coming with this feeling of the Chinese New Year, which comes on, I believe, the 20th. We're leaving the year of the wood snake, and we're coming into the fire horse. So I've enjoyed reading things about that because even before I'd really looked much into that happening, I'd been feeling so much motivation and creative desire, which, as you guys might have seen, the little rebrand video that I made with the help of AI creation, which was a lot of fun to work with, but to rebrand my YouTube channel Light Forged, which has been really fun to play with. And it's such a neat concept to look at as well, with the phoenix rising and just the idea of being forged in light, forged by light. So it's not some superficial or new age woo woo love and light where, oh no, we're just not going to look at the darkness. And no, but it's like that. It's like a forge. There's a fire, there's a real burning away of what no longer serves, and a real intensifying, which I very much align with. So that's been fun to experiment with. And through that has been so many ideas of people to interview and concepts of shows and things to put together. So I've got a lot on the drawing board, and I am excited to dive into that more fully. So stay tuned for more of that. I'm still going to be enjoying the next few days, at least, of being in stillness. I wanted to come on and do this show with you guys. But after that point, there'll be a lot more coming down the pipeline. So yeah, that's sort of some initial announcements. Coming back to this, welcome everyone. It's good to see you. And yeah, just some other announcements here. So as I've shared, there's been some great progress with Bali and the Lions of Uganda in Uganda. They've been through generous support of so many beautiful angels. They've been able to really get this house well underway. They are, I would say, about 80% finished with the home. They got the land purchased, and they're well on their way to finishing up and making it a livable space for them to move into, which fortunately is just right next door from the place that they were renting. So we're kind of coming to the end of the amounts of money that we've raised, and I think it's going to be enough to complete it. It's going to be very close. So I don't want to stop putting the word out there for that, because I want to make sure that we get this completed. I've been so grateful for those who have stepped in and helped out with that. It's like very close. He just went to go purchase materials for the latrine today that they've dug, just basically a big hole in the ground that they're going to build a structure over the top of it. And then they'll just have to finish the beams and the roof before, it being a livable space. So it's amazing to have built a home for this amount. And so I would just ask if anyone has any desire to want to be a part of that movement, definitely feel free to chip in for that. And I appreciate everyone who has. It's been such a blessing to see the generous hearts of those who want to step in and help out with that to get these kids a new home. I'm working on some other ways. I've got some leads of other organizations that might be able to step in and help in the long term. This wasn't something that I was planning on sticking with consistently. It was just a need that I saw, and of course, that's what we do. We step in to help when there's a way that we can. And so yeah, I will be continuing to do that. And if you want to help chip in for that, there is the gibsongo.com/Lions of Uganda, where you can support for that. Or you can go to my website, justincarpenter.org/contribute, or just click the contribute button, and you can find all my means of receiving contributions. And just make sure, if you do it that way, just to write a note of that you'd like it to go to Bali. I have been redirecting a lot of personal donations towards these efforts as well, just because I want to make sure that they get in a good space. So as long as I can get my needs met, taken care of, which I'm very blessed to always have exactly what I need. It's a wonderful wonderful space to be and a wonderful way to live, to just trust, trust the divine to provide, and the divine really does. And it's through the generous support of you guys. So thank you for any consideration there, to help make all this happen. And that's one of the reasons why I do want to shift more focus into producing content on YouTube, since getting this channel back and getting more inspiration there it's a lot more feasible. It's still going to take a lot of work, but it's a lot more feasible to become monetized on YouTube. So I'd really like to pour a lot of efforts in there. And of course, you guys will see all the updates as we go along the way. But just to have extra income generated, so it's not all on anyone to keep me afloat or help support these children or any other things that we're, looking to do. So anyway, I think that's about it as far as the opening announcements today. So yeah, we'll just dive into it. And like I say in the post, I do love to give priority to those who are here live on the call. This is a all topics open, all questions are welcome space where we can share on anything that comes up, anything that we've got questions on, any areas of life that we've experienced, whether it's trials and tribulations or success stories that we want to share. Anything is welcome in this space, and it always is a wonderful flow of where we can take it. So if at any point you do want to chime in, if you have a question or just want to have a share, just feel free to hit that center button on your screen to raise your hand, and then I can open up your mic and you can jump in when there's an opportune moment. And I do have some offline questions, which people are always welcome to send me. You can reach me at Justin Carpenter on Telegram, or t.me/Justin Carpenter is a way to reach me, or any other way that you can reach me, whether it's commenting on a post. I try and do my best to save questions that I receive for these. Is just a great way to cover them. So yeah, so with that, I will go ahead and pass it off and see if anybody has any questions that they want to start us off with. And I saw Freebird had raised your hand, so we'll start with you if you have something you want to jump in with, and then I see Tracy, and we'll go to next. Hey, Freebird, did you have something you want to jump in with? We're not hearing you if you do. If that was an accident, no worries at all.
Oh, Justin, are you there?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, good. Sorry, just 1 second. I accidentally hit that. I'm listening with my headphones. So anyway, I'm redoing my phone here. I don't know if I can hear you now.
Can you
Shoot.
hear me?
There we go. Yeah, okay, I got you on speaker. Yeah,
Awesome.
I wasn't intending to do this. That's so funny. And I just got in for a walk, so I'm out of breath. But my question was, I had written to you, and you probably remember that I had a question about tobacco. I'm just hearing all kinds of things on Instagram, I mean, you name it, and people are talking about the benefits of tobacco. And it sounds, I mean, I wouldn't doubt it, but it also doesn't sound very appealing to me. And I was just curious your take on it. What's your understanding of it?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I would say, so I don't have a lot of direct experience with it. It's not something that I've felt a big push to go out and trial with. I would say that if I had access to somebody who was growing it themselves, that because it's like you start diving into it and you do realize that whole industry has been hijacked. Most plants are grown with methods that might not be very ideal, and then the finished product that's put into cigarettes especially is so far removed from what is natural that's what a lot of people, when they speak about this, are talking about as that's really the problem, is all the additives and things in that, which I can very much get on board with. I'm sure that is where the mass amounts of issues with using that come from. And if we just look at the the, looking at historical evidence is always a bit shaky because the details get fuzzier the further back you go. However, it does seem to be a very spiritual, ceremonial plant to use. And there's likely a reason why that industry was so targeted and why there was so much effort put into making this plant, one, extremely hard to grow legally, and then two, so tarnished with the final product to make people sick. Likely because there was some benefit to it, whether some spiritual benefit or some physical benefit. So that's likely the case. But as far as finding specific products or things in today's day and age, I wouldn't even begin to really know where to look. I did listen to and I do like his perspective most of the time. David Avocado Wolf has talked about it, and I think he's working on a specific, I don't know, like he's working to get it grown so that he has more oversight of how that process goes. But he's done some talks and things on it that I've enjoyed listening to, and yeah, so I don't doubt that it has some benefits. But like anything, ultimately, we don't need anything outside of us, right? There's no need. So anyone who's presenting it like, oh, because we have these nicotine receptors, we need to have this plan and you need to be using it. No, I'm not going to buy into that, because God made us perfectly self-sustaining and sovereign. Yes, there might be points within us that have some openness to interacting with the natural world around us. Absolutely. There can certainly be that. But to present it as if it's something that we need to be doing, no, I won't be. That just doesn't align with our perfect God-given body that we've received, that we have. We don't need anything. Now, there are, given the fact that we are in this sort of upside down, inverted reality, I'm sure there are some uses to it that could help alleviate certain things or get rid of certain toxins or whatever the case may be. So I'm not disregarding its potential benefits, but it would just be something that I would frame more as like a supplemental tool, perhaps to use for a time, not as a need that you have to do this in order to be healthy. That framework is always, I'm never going to align with that. So it's like with anything, right? Like, tools are there for us to find what use we have for them in whatever time, whatever state of being we are in. And that's going to look different for you and for me and for anybody. So if you feel called to experiment with it, go for it and see what happens. And yeah, I mean, so I don't have a lot more to go off, because I prefer my own direct experience with things, and I don't have much with that. And I haven't really felt called to dive into that. I'm not saying I won't, but I just haven't up to this point. So that's about all I have on that topic. But yeah, if you do have any more results to share and you want to, if you do experiment with it, let us know. But that's what I got for right now. So I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you. Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah, I'm really not called to it either. I was curious about it. And thanks for the reminder that we really don't need any like supplementation, really. And yeah, I just assume leave it. But I just wanted to say that it's really nice to have you back and to be back with, our JC family group. It's been a nice little rest. But boy, it feels really good to be back here, and it feels like home. So thank you so much for all you do for all of us and for everybody's contribution. It's a really good group of people, and I'm so appreciative. So thank you, and Happy New Year.
Oh, thanks, sister. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's my pleasure, and it's a wonderful space, and it is a wonderful group of people that are magnetized, pulled into this space, and I'm really grateful for it. And yeah, it's nice to have a pause every now and again, but this is something that I have no intention on stopping as far as this. So like, no matter whatever else I do want to keep this sort of, you know, of course I can't predict and know what the future holds, but at least for now, I want to continue doing this in this way and connecting with beautiful souls like yourself, and just sharing our journey together. Like I often say in these shows, I'm not here I don't want to ever present myself as some guru or guide or like I know everything. I'm just learning like everybody else. You know, we're just all learning together. And when we pool our resources and we have this humility and this way to learn together, then, you know, it's a much more fun experience in that way. And we're always going to be correcting ourselves if we ever veer off, if any one of us veers off any path, as long as we're open to the feedback of the loving space that we've helped create together. So I appreciate that. It certainly helped me many times, and I'm happy to help in the ways that I can. So thank you for the kind words, and I'm so glad you're here. So yeah, I will. I see Tracy raised your hand as well. Go ahead, Tracy.
Well, hello to everyone. And yeah, happy fake New Year. Woohoo! Oh my gosh. Good to hear your voice, Free Bird. And yeah, I absolutely second what you said as well. It was really lovely to take time, and I wasn't as active online, and just there was, yeah, everything was very, very aligned. There was no struggle to, oh, I've got to have intention to do this and accomplish this and reach this goal. There was no, everything was just very, very aligned and fell into place with ease. So, which brought me great peace. So I've had, I just recently, I'd like to share a few of my late night excursions here, as I do like to go out at between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. before the sun comes up. Where this new area that I'm in from where I used to live, I'll just remind everyone, for sake of just a bit of context, where I used to live was I could walk to various beaches, or the area was a little bit more developed as well, and so I had access at any time of day, either walking or bike or whatnot. So here it's a little bit different, and it's a little bit sketchy at nights. So there's these very small little pathways, and I've gone up on some. I got actually lost in the dark, couldn't find my way back to my bike, almost got attacked by guard dogs that were all off their leads, like 6 of them at one time, two packs of 3 on both sides of me. I'm like kind of trapped in the middle in the dark, and had to actually grab some rocks to sort of get them to back off of me. Actually, they were coming at me. They weren't vicious, but it was a little sketchy. So that was one moment. And then another moment was there's because that's not something that would never happen in that last area. Every person's pet would be contained. There would be no roaming dogs and stuff like that. But this is much more of a rural and village type setting, and so not at all as developed. So very kind of common, but I hadn't gone to this path before. It was very new. Anyway, and then another moment was there's wild boar here. And so I started to feed the wild boar, which I shouldn't actually admit on tape. It's highly illegal. Could get a big fine for it, could get in some trouble, and I could actually get attacked. So anyways, I stopped doing that. I finished doing that on Christmas Day. They got their Christmas Day feeding, and that was the end of that. Because I started to see some on another pathway in the early morning as well. Not even sunrise yet. So these kind of moments are a little bit, because it's kind of more remote areas, a little bit treacherous, I feel, if I'm alone. And I saw one that looked like almost the size of a buffalo way ahead on the path, crossed the path. So I was like, oh my God, turned back. I'm like, okay, we're not going to come out in the dark anymore. So, but I did go out in the dark today. because I had to go. I had to go before your show, and I had to go have a workout before your show. So I slept really early. I was in bed like 9:30. I was up by 1:30, and so I was out at like 4 a.m. And a whole family ran across right by the Saikung fire station, so sort of in the city. There's a little bit of green patches here and there, but a whole, like the mother and about, I don't know, maybe 4 to 5 piglets ran in front of me. So that was just this morning, and that was in a common area. So that was kind of freaky. Anyway, so it's sort of a little bit different here, doing these kind of activities outside. I've had to learn through the different seasons and whatnot, but it's been quite an adventure. And so one of the nicest things, though, that I discovered during the nighttime, just that it just finished. Actually, there was a season of a flower. It's a type of cornflower that only flowers at night, and the smell is so strong, so aromatic. It's like one of the most beautiful flower scents I've ever smelled, like ever, and it's so strong. So, but it finally finished. It's not something I was able to experience when I was on these kind of late night excursions. Anyway, so it's been quite enjoyable, but as well, with intention. And so I've been calling my going out and doing my meditation while I'm on these walks and these bike rides. I call it the intentional transmutation meditation. That's what I call what I'm doing. So it's been very powerful, very helpful, and getting clarity on things, and just being able to be in different layers of quietness I've gone through over the past couple of years, and getting comfortable with certain layers of not necessarily like isolation, but for the good, isolate in a way to get that stillness, to cut out the distractions. So, excuse me, I really needed to do that, and it's been very helpful. So wanted to add that. And to everyone, it's been lovely to be able to get a little bit of extra rest, but I'm really, really grateful to be back here with everyone. And I hope everyone had a wonderful time as well. Whatever you got up to, I would love to hear about it. So so grateful to be back, and so awesome to see you, Justin, as well. So thanks for everything.
Yeah, thanks, Tracy. Thanks for the share. And it is it's always fun hearing updates from you. And just the point you brought up about the type of meditation that you're doing, and it brings up a great topic around the rigidity of our ideas or concepts of what meditation is, are really quite damaging to our ability to actually connect, which that's the only point of meditation, is to enhance your ability to connect with the pure awareness, the monad, the pure consciousness within. So whatever that looks like is perfect for you, perfect for any of us. So while some meditation practices are beautiful, and it's great to learn, to experiment, to find the ones that we align with, it's really such an individualized process that if I become so rigid in thinking that, it has to look in this form, or I have to sit in this way, or I have to do it in this form, or it's not going to work, then that becomes a block, right? That can become even if we've found that connection through doing a practice in a certain way in a previous time. If I become so rigid in thinking that I have to do it that way in order to experience it again, guess what? It's not. At some point, it's not going to work, because I'm attaching myself to that idea or that concept of connecting with the divine, instead of just allowing the flow of how it needs to be. And so having forms of meditation that are more active, or going on a bike ride or a drive or a walk, or people get into that flow like skiing or boating or whatever. It's like there's so many ways that doesn't have to be so sat still and doing it in that way. Now, stillness is really the internal state that you find. So your body can be in motion, and then you're in that still state within, to allow the divine to flow within you. So I just want to, I will continuously remind that, because that's been something that I thought through my awakening process, that I had to find that one specific form of meditation, or had to learn how these people do it. And while I'm so grateful for learning different methodologies and practices, and I still utilize many practices today, so I'm very grateful for that process. But what's the biggest takeaway is that it looks different all the time. It can look different every day. Some days it might be going and just laying on the grass. Some days it might be walking down the street. Some days it might be chopping up apples. It looks different. And just being open to that, then those different forms become more consistent, and then it doesn't even really matter what I'm doing. I can drop into that state. So it's a great reminder with that one. So thank you for sharing, Tracy. And I will just pass it back and see if anybody else wants to jump in and share anything or ask a question, give us a topic. So I'll pass it over. Hey, Rowan. Good to see you, brother. Go ahead.
Hey, Justin. Hey, everybody. Happy supposed New Year's. And really glad to be connected with everyone again. And nice music to listen to at the beginning of the show. Got to say, there's so much I've discovered, not just, all these wonderful things we talk about when we get into the vegan meat of it, but music that somehow never heard of when I was a kid. So that's always awesome. So thanks for that. And so kind of everyone's kind of said a little bit of something already that's sort of connected to what I was going to say. So the whole topic about people presenting themselves as gurus and all this stuff. And there's how do I say this in a short way, so I'm starting to see, not starting, I've noticed for a while. However, I want to make sure I'm not being blinded by religion or something, right? Because there's very specific differences between following the Christ within and being a religious person. And I'm finding it really challenging to do some things because, people around you can't control what they choose to learn about and not. Like if you lead a horse to water, like a perfectly Bristol lake that's never been swam in, can choose not to drink it if it doesn't want to, and you can't do anything about it. And we have covered this kind of subject before with being soft with people, not being forceful with sharing information, things like that. And it's funny because these very same people who get so easily offended by anyone who doesn't seem to be on the internet, at least, some certified Facebook freaking guru or YouTube guru, they'll listen to those people, but those people around them in real life that are much closer, they actually know who they are, and they'll likely never meet these YouTubers that they claim to be such fans of. It's very strange. It's funny because these conversations go usually along the lines of, oh, we have so much in common, or this, that, whatever, when you're first getting to know someone. Let's say whether it's a friend or maybe it's a client for training of some kind, all kinds of stuff. And you're getting to know them, and it's like as soon as you strike this funny little chord that you have no idea is there, they start to dislike you. And, that doesn't affect me personally. I'm not going to have my day ruined over it, but, it causes these invisible, challenges. You can't do anything about these things. And it's connected to what are all these gurus on YouTube for? Life advice, diet, exercise, places to live and move. And there's all these, I think experiences many people have had now where they want to it's not getting the most out of their money. It's not about money. It's about their energy and making sure it's been put in the right place, in the right currency, in the right value, in the right denomination, everything. I think you guys know what I mean. So there's so much going on. I'm trying to narrow this down, keep it straight and narrow, not get all tangented, get in this direction or that direction. But people here, not just in Canada, but all around the world, are complaining about the same thing. It's like, oh, our countries are being invaded by immigrants or this or that, which, like, no one's actually wrong, but that's what's funny is everyone, is right because it's like happening everywhere. Like, I'm actually kind of not stumped, just observing how everyone's behaving, and no one seems to be happy no matter where they go. And it's reflecting very heavily upon me in the lightest way, best way possible, that this is the highlight of importance, why you should go within, and just these gurus, all these people. And well, for example, Justin, you mentioned you've used AI to reboot your YouTube channel now that they finally lifted the, ridiculous watch on you or whatever. And so it must be nice. Like, congratulations. That's so cool to finally be able to have that back. And I think a lot of us, like I've mentioned this before, we all have ideas and things, but like, it's kind of hard to assess, not just how do I say this in a short way? There's so much that I'm trying to compress into a single human zip file. Just say it in a sentence. Is people don't want to waste their time. They don't want to waste their money with the wrong things or people, yet they listen to all these people online, gurus, blah, blah, but then they don't listen to that little voice within, this Christ within. And it's sad to watch because, well, many of us, I think, are getting into the field of healing. And there's so much healing to be done, not just within oneself. We have to take the plank out of our own eye before we help take the sliver out of another's. So we're doing that. That's great. However, I'm not even at this point yet, but I've heard the struggles and the disappointments. A lot of these people who have gone further distances than I have, and they're not trying to be gurus. They're actually just being good people. And sure, they might use the internet to like get a following or to help people that way. But it's almost like it creates this. It's not that I'm afraid of haters, or I don't think you are either. It's that there's so much that it's kind of like when you're it's connected to this, like buying a property, you put all this money in interest payments, like very little goes towards the principal. And so when you're starting up either a YouTube channel or something that can help people, is that the way that this world still seems to operate is that it targets those who are actually trying to help others do the right thing. Like, I've heard some stories of people, like they don't even claim to be internet gurus. They're just sharing their points on YouTube, and like they're having not only their channels taken down, but they're being threatened with legal action, like just completely over the top things that just are based on absolutely no evidence of like anything. And most of the time it's started by some kind of, I don't know, because we want to believe that most of these nefarious programs and things that are really causing damage are dealt with, but I still see some of it happening. And I know that God works in mysterious ways, and I don't just want to be a person watching on the sidelines, just letting it happen to other people. I'm like, is this the price, like the penance that's paid? Like this is the straight and narrow path where it's like, I mean, it's the manly thing to do things that are uncomfortable and against your will that you don't want to do for the benefit of yourself and others. Like, I think that's commendable. However, I see some people going through incredibly stupid things, and it's hard to tell if they're even real. I don't know how to keep this short, is all this stuff that we think we're learning from, whether we're watching videos or even just the comment section of these videos, blah, blah, is that it's really hard for people to tell if they're actually getting good information. So there's so many of us, I think you're one of them, like doing their best to really get the good news out there, etc. However, you're getting buried by an algorithm that is trying to keep you out. And it's like, you can use all the right keywords, all the right things, like blah, 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 and use AI. And it's like, I've been literally listening to people on YouTube with their smaller channels, and they can't take off. It's, and artists, musicians, like people, they got such good music. And it's like, how is, Cardi B number 2 or 3? And we got all of this stuff that's just, we don't even know the names of most of these people. And it's for a reason. So it's kind of sad to see people, they're doing the right things and crafting their love for their music or their artwork, their that, but they're kind of being stomped out by this very similar AI thing that we're using. Like, it sounds like you've had success good time with using it yourself. But it's like, how do we know what programs, if we're like new creators, whatever, that it's morally good? Like, yeah, it's not going to be like kind of messing with another group of people and it's benefiting us. And we might be blind to it, not because we're being negligent or ignoring it. It's just we are going with the flow, and it seems that people using certain tools might be a bit more successful, not because of the money, but it's the times. And I'm being very careful to not like criticize anyone for what they do or sound judgmental. That's why this is so long. I'm just being careful. But yeah, my question really is like, how do we know if what we're doing is actually the right thing? And we could be associating with all the right people, but somehow it either falls upon deaf ears, or we pay a price, like, you buy a property and it turns out the home inspector had some kind of rigged deal with the previous owner that lied about everything. And now you're just holding the bag for all the stuff that went wrong. And now let's apply that to trying to start up some kind of digital presence to help serve people. And it can be for even the smallest things. Just we seem to be getting, I don't know if this is true. Are we being tracked and hunted down, like, for dare speaking anything true or real? I'm not trying to be in fear. It's just I'm seeing a lot of people suffering through, they put up the best intentions. They do all these practices, but they are suffering a lot. And, I'm not trying to just be the coward, like I said, and sit on the sidelines, but it sucks kind of seeing this happen to people. And is this just like the test? It's like it depends on who you are. Maybe it's right away for people. They take off, no problems at all. Others seem to be dragged through the trenches with bullets shattering all around them. Let's just put it that way. So I'll cut it off there. I would rather hear more of what others have to say about this, because usually I go on for a bit because everything's connected and it's hard to stop sometimes. So thanks for listening, everyone, and would love to hear what you have to say. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Rowan. It's you're touching on a lot of things here, and at the end of the day, it helps to just come back to the very simple framework of how this creation works. And this is actually a video that I want to do sort of as like a standalone presentation. So this is sort of like a sneak peek of that. But to give that framework of falling into the separation, not as necessarily a fall from grace or something that we did to punish ourselves or whatever. It's so that we can immerse ourselves to be that pure awareness, the monad, and to immerse ourselves into the experience by forgetting to a degree that we are that. And the Christ is that safety line. The Christ is the line that connects us back to source, to remind us that we are that. And we follow the Christic path, not to escape the experience, but to be in it while realizing that I am connected to the one, and I am the one, which is very difficult to walk. And so you have that as your sort of initial framework, and then your adversary, which is also you, and is a necessary part of you to help us refine ourselves, is the forgetting. And you could term it the Antichrist. It's necessary to have a relationship with the Antichrist because it's what makes it possible to even have an experience where I can pretend to be separate. Without that, then we would just zip back up into the one. But the sort of aim of the Antichrist, if you will, is to enhance the forgetting, to enhance the separation and make the separation as foundational as possible, because this is where control exists. This is where if I can make this material existence seem to be the only thing and make death seem us be so afraid of it, then we're much more easily controlled in that way. And so given that we are in that sort of cycle of going between a anti-Christic and Christic reality, where these forces are always at play, there's always both of them. You can never just have one. because the experience would cease to exist if you just had one. But there are very, like every cycle, it ebbs and flows, where there's periods where the Antichrist is much more in control, if you will, much more dominating. And that's what we've been in. And so you're talking about, how do we know if we're doing the right thing as we're declaring ourselves as walking the Christed path and aligning ourselves into this? And as soon as you do that, you're putting a target on your back, because the antichristic system does not want any Christic beings or any Christic representations to be successful. Because if that happens, then it starts to tear away the very fabric of the antichristic reality, the system that's been built to maintain that sense of control. So while we can focus on this from like a man that sucks victim perspective, what it does really is it helps to refine the Christic beings. It helps to strengthen. It becomes a gauntlet, right? Like it's a very challenging process to go through, to one, declare yourself courageously, knowing that persecution is a part of it. Persecution's baked into the experience of doing that. So it does make it much more challenging to want to step off into, and it should, because it's not for the faint of heart. It requires that full faith, that full leap of faith, that no matter what happens to me, no matter what happens to my body, to my status, to my possessions, to my relationships, no matter what, I'm still committed to this. That's that full investment. It can't be partial. It can't be halfway. So I can't say exactly what others who are going through those kind of experiences are, but if their sole focus is on the woe or the misery for losing something, or spending a lot of effort having some attachment to some idea that I need to gain followers or subscribers in order to view myself as successful, then ultimately they're building it off something they're building that house on the sand. And so of course disappointment's going to follow, and that's going to be the focus. And the way that creation works, it's going to reflect that back at them until they let go of that attachment or that idea, that expectation that, oh, because I do this X, Y, or Z, I have to get that. It's like, that's the surrender, is the release. And so that's one layer to look at. And then you have this full on multiple lifetime energetic frequencies moving through these various timelines, karmic stories that are playing out, these decisions, these soul contracts that we sign up for as well, that also can come into play with the effects that happen for any one individual that are often beyond our awareness. There are ways that we can sort of become more aware of those. But even focusing on that is still somewhat of a trap, because it takes away from just the ebb and flow of what's happening, and recognizing that it's just a feedback experience. So what I'm receiving, what's coming back to me, is just information for me to shift something internally. So yeah, I mean, you said it, the focus on external status, or that I have to acquire something, if that's solely the focus, then it's destined to become a disappointing result, because that's not the way that creation is going to accentuate. It's going to have a stop there, unless you go the complete opposite way. Then if you go the full antichristic route, full on materialism, full on external power, you can go that route, but that's a whole different set of rules. And ultimately it's not, but it's different. So straddling the line and doing it one way, and one foot one way and 1 foot the other, it's going to be completely contradictory. So yeah, I mean, that would just be generally to set up the framework, and I wouldn't compare yourself to other experiences, because we don't know their mental state on the day to day. We don't know what they've done in this lifetime. We don't know what they've done in other lifetimes to accrue karmic consequence. And we don't know what sort of attachments are being built off of status or ideas or anything else outside of the complete freedom of flow for the monad, the divine will to flow through us and move in that way. So for you specifically, that's what it all comes back to. It's just like, how can I align myself with that highest will no matter what? Even if I spend X amount of time, say, developing a channel and it goes nowhere, or if I am cautious of not investing into one area or into a certain platform, or however this goes, it's okay to be cautious. It's okay to research and investigate and figure out what's the best, but also be okay with going down, a way that you're not so certain, and seeing what happens, right? Because as long as our recommitment is consistent, then wherever we go is not going to take us very far to realize, oh no, this isn't the way. This isn't working. This relationship isn't aligning with me. And the lessons that I learned through that process are very valuable. I needed to go down that path in order to learn what I needed to learn today. So I'm seeing, just in my, of course, it's been a ebb and flow experience for me in the online space, but I am seeing a sort of trend of openness moving in the online spaces, where things are much more manageable to gain momentum in areas that it did seem to be much more challenging. Now, this isn't something that I have put to the test personally, but this is more so just learning from others' experiences and sort of the ways that, so I could have a different story here after I start trying some things, but I am very motivated to place my efforts into ways to get this message out there with, again, the same underlying foundation that I've always had from the beginning of, like, I'm not really doing this for followers or subscribers or for notoriety or anything like that. I just want to speak about these things because I love to talk about them. And I've found so much value in learning about these things, and I can't help but want to share them because I get so excited at the prospect of sharing the feelings, even though I can't directly give those feelings. But if I can help in any way to bring about the peace that I have found and the understanding that I have found, then I want to do that. And who cares? If I'm just speaking to myself, then I'll do that. If it turns into a where every single one rejects me and says I'm crazy and whatever, which I don't anticipate that at all. But if that were the case, that's the kind of state of being to be in. I'm not doing this for anybody else. I'm doing this because it lights me up. To let passion really drive us, which is very much a part of the fire horse year that's coming up, that we're stepping into. It's really letting those passions ignite and move us in new ways. The wood snake was about contemplation and analytics and building within and planning and all of that, which can be great. It's great to have those phases as well, but this momentum shift is huge as far as the energy that's behind it. So I'm feeling it for sure. And without, expectation of what that looks like, I have loose plans. It's not a bad thing to have loose plans, but the fluidity to let them change and evolve and move as they need to whenever anything comes up. That's the That's the row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Life is but a dream. It's just it's the river of life is there for us just to lean back into and let it take us, not without any choice or movement. When the flow moves us to action, then we move into that action with gusto and power and conscious will. So it's not shifting to a just completely passive nature, but it is trusting the flow of life, that if I move and do something and I'm met with such resistance, then it's like, okay, the river's flowing a different direction. Why am I going to keep beating my head against the wall when it's not to keep going this way? So yeah, I mean, that's the process, right? Like, to become aligned every day and able to listen, to practice that ebb and flow of allowing the Christ within me to move, to direct me, that compass to continue pointing, and trust when it shifts. So if I'm in, but it's a cycle, right? So it's a toroidal field. There's an expansionary part of the process, and there's a contracting part of the process. Which one am I in? Am I being invited to contract, to go within, to really get clear, to listen? Or am I being inspired to really kick it into high gear and put stuff into action to build? And that ebb and flow can look like, every day every moment. It can look like weeks. It can look like years. Sometimes we have years where it's like, I'm being called to spend in contemplation, going within and not really creating, and then years otherwise. But it could just be an hour, right? No, I'm going to spend this hour just doing absolutely nothing and being with the Father and being with the Mother. And then the next hour, I'm consciously creating, inspired, letting the divine will flow through me, letting it animate me. So the better we get at this, then we're just more open to the gentle leanings of where is the river of life flowing me in this moment. So how do we know if we're doing the right thing or being misled? If I'm not resistant to shifting, if I'm able to pivot, if I'm able to, if I'm able to shift, then I'm doing it right. If I'm rigid and stuck, then I'm letting the ego with its sense of attachment and rigidity, I'm letting it control the show. So that's really the easiest way to distinguish. And it's impossible to define and impossible to put it in a box or say it has to be this way all the time or this way all the time, because it's always flowing. And being open to that is the way. So yeah, I think I will just leave that there and pass it back and see if you have any other thoughts, or anybody else has any thoughts they want to chime in on that.
That was awesome, man. No, thank you. I kind of you mentioned the one thing already, but you said row, row your boat. My name's Rowan, so that works for me. And it's a fire horse year, and I am a Sagittarius. But that also I have questions about, because if we're on this 12-month slave calendar, then what is our real astrological signs? Like, this is what I'm being very careful with, is who I'm listening to, who I actually put. I think everyone's trying to do this, right? And we can't predict the future. I know some of my questions sound like there isn't an answer. A lot of the time when I'm on the show like this, I know that the answers are all within. Like, that's the long and short of it, or the short and the long of it. But yes, it's funny when people, like, this isn't about blaming. This is just like you're talking, right, about paths of resistance. You run into something and the river flows another direction. Well, it's funny how people will be on the same boat as you for a while, going down the river, and you're on the same river, supposedly, and you're all sharing the same boat. and out of nowhere, someone changes their mind and thinks we should actually swim completely against the current, even though we've made it this far down this one. And it's challenging when that whole group of people loves that person, let's say, and it kind of gets all caveman-y from here. Except I don't think they use boats very often, quote unquote, caveman. But was that I think you just throw, according to their laws, caveman laws, you just throw that person overboard because they're causing a problem, and they're probably like they're wrong. Like it's very clear that they're wrong. And you got the rest of the group all in the same library. We're supposedly on the same boat, is what I meant to say. And somehow, this one person who's been reading along or swimming along, rowing with us the whole time, merrily down the stream, suddenly decides, you know what? This is not right. It's like in the Bible where they say we should go back to Egypt because this is harder than even our shitty lives back where we left from when they were being led through the desert. Like, I've been finding a lot of really great allegorical contexts and things that have to do with everything we're talking about. And it's made me very interested in specifically reading the Bible. But that's the issue, is so many people, oh my God, is these gurus, they're again, not trying to blame anyone, but they are in it for the wrong things. And I think a lot of us are thinking about this. We might just not know how to express it or even ask it because there's not too many of us actually doing it. So it's kind of hard to find, that other person who's also doing it. It's kind of niche, if that's the word for it, is that there's so many of these fake evangelicals, whatever you want to call them. And they're also blended in with all the real ones. And in this world where everything, I don't even care where you live, everything is expensive now. Regardless of, the item or food, wherever your housing is, situation, everything's expensive now. So there are those of us, I believe you're one of them, that isn't about the money. Like, we're doing it because we love what we do, or we love what we are sharing. And we have to be careful with that, make sure, we're not saying we're doctors or whatever, all that, blah, blah. However, these ones who are absolute fakes, like it's just like in the Bible too, like there are many who will be first, but ones who are last will then be first after. Sorry, I'm not quoting it perfectly, but I'm trying to shorten this. It's so fascinating to see the world working the same way every day, that these fakes get promoted like right away, like within, let's say, the hour. Not usually actually an hour, but you see them like, and some of them seem to be pretty good on the surface, but like, they're in secret, like putting that money into some kind of like private interest, and they claim to be a nonprofit, all this stuff. And it's annoying trying to even associate with people that claim to be real ones, because a lot of them are also not plant-based, vegan. So they're still consuming some death here and there. They believe that, if it's given to you by God, it's okay to eat. It's like, well, okay, well, if you were given a dead human and it looked like it was a chicken leg, but it's actually like a little fillet of its forearm, would you still eat it? If it's from God, of course, right? So there's a lot of those, and I'm trying not to waste airtime talking about these people. I'm just simply, I want to help people not do that anymore. And these systems are just set up to, we're trying to not be contributing to slave jobs. We need to make some forms of money to just keep going until everything changes, right? Whenever that day actually comes. So how do I shorten this even more? Is like, we're not in it for the money. However, we have to continue living. It's not about surviving. It's about thriving. We're very clear on that. And in order to thrive, it's not about being worldly. It's just like Jesus and his ministry. They had to start making some oil. They had to start doing some things just to have the tools, like what they needed to do. And in this modern age, things are pretty expensive. It's like you can't really just throw everything, into a carriage that you carry around yourself. Things are heavier, not just in density, but also in price. And if they drop, they break. Like they're not made like they used to be made. All the things, like literally everything, right? It breaks if you look at it the wrong way, and your warranty is somehow void. You know what I mean? So it's like, to invest into the right things to continue like crafting the tools to do the journey seems to be like they're making it very close to impossible, where either you choose a slave job to just pay for your living expenses, blah blah. You might have some extra money for, enjoying yourself here and there, however you want to define that as. And yet, yeah, like you do that, or you go like straight up the Jesus path and you walk everywhere, man. It's what I've been noticing. It's like we're kind of now in a time where there's all these like desires that are not really worldly. They could be for helping people too, but it's like this time. I hope I'm speaking to a lot of people here on like if this is helpful to you, that this is our transformation time in the slow part. It's so weird. I don't mean to be wasting time. I just don't want to be asking repetitive questions either. It just seems to be that this is a very strange sense of humor of God's, and it's to see if you are real too. So it's like, how much can you suffer to like get to the end? Like all those examples we see pictures of, like a miner turns around as soon as he's about to strike gold or whatever, right? So it's like we're this close, and I don't want to fall into the trap, I don't think any of us do, of believing like, oh yeah, we're doing the right thing, and it's just this blind hope. So let's say you want to save up money for a vehicle or maybe even a house to do certain things, but it's temporary, and there's all these stipulations that come around with it. And let's say, because this is what I've seen, is so many people, they build a presence online, they do really well, and they are real ones, but then they get taken down. It's like the whole story of Job, and it happens to them, happens to that guy, and it happens to some girls. They seem to go easier on the girls, right? But yeah, it's very fascinating to see, like, there's all these people doing the same thing, like they do it all right, and then they just get taken down. Like Santos Bonacci's got his story, Charlie Freak, everyone like that's like been a part of this awakening, like has got their own stories. And it's not that I'm in fear of mine. I've gone through some things already, so it's like it's not shaking me that much. It's just I don't want to waste time. And I'm not trying to give it all to Saturn like that and say time, money. It's just like it's this balance. And how can we just protect ourselves further by we can keep saying like, I have faith, but it's like some uncontrollable thing is going to happen where it just gets destroyed. And I wouldn't want that to happen to anybody, especially if they get into it. They start a family, they have kids and everything, and then that's when everything falls apart. They think they've figured it out. So I'm paying very close attention. So it's like, I'm not going to have a kid and make him think he's been born to a king. And it's like, oh, now his whole life just falls apart. Like this has become such a common thing, like particularly in the West, right? So it's why divorce rates are so high, all those things. It's all the right people thinking they're doing the right things. And then this system just, this is going beyond YouTube gurus and stuff now. This is just like people who are all thinking they're doing the right things. And it's war. I'm trying not to make it sound like negative like that, but geez, how can we just know that this fortress is not built on sand that we're building? That's what I mean. Like we keep thinking, oh, we found rock. Nope. Our human flaws have once again betrayed us. And we get to learn the same lesson again or something. And it's like, I thought I learned this already. Why am I getting a reminder? Or why this is homework that I didn't finish from before? It's just so strange. So I'm going to cut it off there, open it up for someone else to contribute to this or connect it to something else. Because I think this is a great subject at multiple lines of subjects that many of us are thinking about. Maybe like me, I don't know how to express it perfectly all the time. So I'll open it up. And thanks, everyone.
Yeah. So again, it's impossible to frame all scenarios and have a cookie cutter answer as to why something happens, right? Because we don't know what every individual is going through. We don't know the level of attachment somebody is getting to their particular job, their status, even their family, their house, whatever. If losing that is ultimately going to help them gain in spiritual awareness, then they will. And that only happens if the level of attachment on those things is there, is there to an extreme where it's detracting away from the ebb and flow, the movement, the pivoting, the listening to divine nature. So it's just it's a cause and effect. And then on top of that, we're talking about large cycles here as far as the way reality is constructed, the way society is constructed. And as I mentioned, the anti-Christic and Christic dominated realities. We're in an anti-Christic dominated time. So stepping out from that is going to be a task. Now, what that does, as I mentioned, is it's a refining point to determine courage and level of commitment of stepping out into that. And that's what the high level, truly white hat Freemasons have done when they've stepped off into that reality, is how can we game this anti-Christic system, make money off of it, and use that to push the Christed message even further. That's where some truthers have such a hard time with messages being placed into, say music videos with scantily clad women, or sexual perversion on display, or things of that nature, even though the message behind is quite divine, quite beautiful, and can be. It's more deeply encoded, perhaps. But these are still demographics and audiences that need to be reached. And sex just happens to be very appealing, always, no matter what, but certainly to the fallen man. So you have white hat creators using the leverage of a cabal anti-Christic created system to appeal to the masses in a way that does make money, but it also helps to push this message out there. And so if they can do that, and there's great risk in that, right? Like, because if we start gaming, if we start playing with Babylon, there's risk of falling into it. Stray but a little to the ruin of us all, as Galadriel said. There's risk. There's risk involved doing that. But that's where some are called to create in that way, and that ends up making such a bigger impact because you're able to reach a wider audience, and you're able to acquire resources in order to be able to have a bigger reach, and still be subject to the scrutiny of ignorant people not really understanding what's happening here as to why this happens in that way. And if someone goes through that process and grows an unhealthy attachment to that business, to that route, to the wealth, the fame, the fortune, whatever, then some way, somehow, they're going to lose it, to recalibrate. Because ultimately that's the monad is asking for us to be free of all of these things, so that divine will, our divine will, can flow through us to create in the best ways possible, always. And so if we get stuck in any area, then it's going to be shook free if we're really dedicated to this path. Now, again, like I said, there is the other way, the opposite direction, where you just dedicate yourself towards material acquisition, but that's only temporary as well. Eventually that gets shook free also. No matter how long you hold on to it, it's gonna be shaken loose. So I think I distilled your question as like, as a Christ-centered being, how do we survive in Babylon? How do we make money without falling into these forms? And it's, like I said, it is that it's a challenge, and it's designed to be a challenge. So there are, and we're all going to be called to operate and work with it in different ways. Some will be much more engaging and say in that direct involvement of like Donald Trump. He's a master at gaming the cabal created system and being able to acquire massive wealth and then redistribute that into ways and methods to get the divine message out there, to spread hope, to likely be, I mean, not even likely, guaranteed doing so much behind the scenes, reinvesting that wealth into areas, whether that's helping rescued children or whatever that looks like, doing it in ways that we have no idea. So he's able to hold on to his position of being a Christ-centered being while playing in the anti-Christic system and taking advantage of it. And unfortunately, people are so invested into the anti-Christic system that people invest their money into various ways. So if you can maintain that position and do that in that way, more power to you. Now, like I said, there's a lot of risk involved in that because it can suck you right into it. It can go to your head. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen with people starting out on the right, with the right perspective, doing it for the right reasons. And then the power goes to their head. The notoriety, the fame goes to their head. And if we're not humble through the process and willing to revisit, then we're going to invite a circumstance where we lose it all. Because the divine knows, even if we can game the system, the divine knows, we know at that highest level, and we're always going to position ourselves for continued realization, spiritual growth. So what was once an avenue for spiritual growth, not for only ourselves, but for others that we're influencing, if that then becomes a dead weight, both for ourselves and those we're influencing, karma is going to shift it. It's going to move it. It's going to redirect that energy. So again, I hear a lot in the ways that you're sort of expressing various scenarios and things. It's like you're trying to fit a lot into one sort of definition, and there's not a single, there's no definition really to contain it all. There's a framework that can be helpful to view things around. There's a formula that's generally how things go. But even that is not always set in stone. It's an ebb and flow experience beyond definition. And that's what makes it so exciting, because it's never boring and never gets into a stuck sort of pattern that can be identified and structured and captured. She was always free. Yeah, go ahead.
So, I mean, if you really boil down what it is that we're seeing, what it is that we believe that goodness is real. We believe in being good and believing that good outcomes are possible. And so let's say we're wrong. I mean, really, what's the harm in believing in goodness and doing our best and being the best person that we can possibly be, and giving our best effort in doing what is good? What possible bad outcome could there be even if we're wrong? And so there's really nothing to lose in believing that there is goodness. But that's also why it's important to do the spiritual work, because anyone can say anything, and there are many elaborate beliefs as to what's true and good. But if you do the spiritual work yourself, then you're able to bear direct witness in your personal contact with what's good. And if you look at, just spend a little time and Google how the 12 apostles of Jesus Christ died. All of them, nearly all of them, died horrendous, horrific deaths. And they were willing to go through that because they knew that the teachings of Jesus Christ were true, because they had direct personal evidence of that. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that's the importance of having faith, because having faith in whatever point of reality that you're existing in, whatever time or location, or whatever your personal circumstance is, having faith will change the way things work, and it'll change the opportunities that are opened up to you, and it will change the outcomes. And even if everyone around you lacks faith, and even if everyone around you is being misled, are we too also just going to give up? Oh, I'm the only one, right? So we know about Jesus Christ and we know about his life, but how many other Christs existed that we don't know about? Okay, how many Christs had lived throughout history, and they had to endure being the only Christ on earth, and maybe they didn't change the world? Do we think that they just gave up and stopped being the Christ? So there are innumerable Christs that lived throughout history, and they were ascended beings, and they were righteous, good men. And that's part of what it means to be a man, is that we go against the flow of the river. All of society can be going over the cliff, but a real man stands and he goes contrary to all of it. And it's the hardest thing in the world. It can be. But I just encourage you, whatever little faith you have, hold on to that little faith and grow it and focus on it, and let your life revolve around the faith that you have, because no one else can do it for you. You're the only one that can exercise faith in your own life. And that's the same for everyone that's ever been. Whether there was just one person, and it's been that way, a few times in the scripture. Noah walked with God, and he was the only one, and that preserved his family alive. And then, Moses, the meekest man on the earth, and everything that the Lord did, Moses was entrusted with it, but there was no one else like him. And we're fortunate to live in a time that, the Christ had 12 apostles and then started a whole movement that changed the world. And now it's coming back, and there will be many, and there right now are many, many righteous people, many people struggling to ascend. And we're so blessed to be living in a time that nothing is going to stop what's coming. But the propaganda machine of the old cabal is still in effect. And so we're seeing a vision. We're seeing the appearance that, good people are trying to spread the news and they're being throttled. It's not true. Don't believe it. If the white hats needed more people to wake up quicker, then that's what would be happening. We are exactly where we're supposed to be. Things are unfolding exactly as they're supposed to be, and it's going exactly the rate of speed that it needs to happen at. But if it looks like nothing's happening, don't believe it. It's not real. Everything is happening. Everything is changing. Everything is moving. And just wait and see and hold on to your faith and your soul.
That was beautiful, man.
Go ahead, Ron.
Oh, yeah, just briefly wanted to comment. Not only that was beautiful, but yeah, that's exactly what this is. It's this unfolding. Like, if this conversation could have gone any other way, and every second following this second, it would. But yeah, it's funny how it's just like we keep forgetting and then get reminded by a friend or something. It's not that I forget. It's I feel like maybe a lot of us are very hard on ourselves. Maybe to the degree where we just always feel like we're not doing enough or learning something fast enough. But I know this too. I've known this for a while. We're always where we're supposed to be at all times, and there's no coincidences and things. So thank you. Yes, much of what you said is reminders I still needed to hear, apparently. Because even if we already know things, it blows my mind. It's the blessing of this show is that it's kind of like Groundhog Day in the best way. When we can do the show, of course, because we have to take breaks sometimes. But yeah, yeah, I know there's no cookie cutter answer for all these things. I want to make sure the way that I can honor these Christ-like individuals, the ones whose names I may never know, regardless of how they were martyred, or if like that was directly like a death, like physical horrible death, or something in their life dying, or their whole things changing, things like that. I want to respect them and honor them the best way I can by learning from their suffering, because they, of course, are reflecting what Jesus did for us if he died for us. So it's only fair that we do the same thing for our friends, for that's one of the most noble things you can do. And again, not quoting perfectly scripture here, but that's the point, is to be as much like Jesus as we can, despite our flaws and quote-unquote sins versus virtues, and to be aligned with the Beatitudes, all these things. And it's like I'm starting to lose what I was actually saying. Good Lord, hate it when that happens, because we've covered so much. We always do. I guess I'll maybe come back to that later in the show if I remember what I was about to say, because this is a lot. I try so hard, without trying too hard, not hurt myself, to funnel things into a more sensical version, because it's scattered regardless. That's what life is, unpredictable. There's no calculator for life, and even if there was, that'd be super boring. Who would actually enjoy using it? And what I was going to say had to do with, regardless of how these people are martyred, like that's what I'm seeing. I'm just seeing, if it's even real, people being arrested for praying in their minds on the side of a street in the UK, or people in Africa being rounded up by the last of these, crazy cavemen, Islamic people, whatever they are, and beheading them on public TV, if that's even real. And you're like, I get what you're saying, Mark. Like, all this propaganda is trying to show, like, look at all this, like, this is what's going to happen to you, like, if you be a good person, basically. And I know it's not true. It's just I want to make sure that the ones, what I'm watching, or if anything I'm seeing, if it's real, because I know some of it has to be, or had to have been at one point, that their efforts are not wasted. It's like they died so that I may live, and so that their families may live, and their friends. Like, they did the most noble thing, just like Jesus did, like suffered terrible things. And so it's like, I want to, not just be like, there's enough things being slaughtered. There's enough dying. I think that's what our group is mainly focused on, is not so much death and more life, right? So I want to make sure I'm taking the lessons and the things that I've learned from others, whether it's, their direct physical impalement by some object, or otherwise a projectile weapon or whatever, or being publicly slandered or blackmailed, or something. I want to follow in their steps, but it's not that they tripped. I'm being very careful about how I'm speaking about all these these people who I don't even know or have seen the faces of. Is they've done things greater than I've done, and I want to make sure that their sacrifices are worth it. And it's like, it seems like, it's kind of grossing me out. It's almost like this. Yeah, it is. I know the death culture, where it's the last of it. So they're getting all the last little bits of their sacrifices into their God's ball or whatever. All this stuff, like the few of them that are still lurking around, if they are, and it's pissing me off. And I got to cut it there, because you're the fire horse, and this horse is getting rowdy. Gotta cut it off there. So thanks for listening, you guys. Everything you guys have to say is always appreciated, not just by me, but everyone. So thanks. And someone else's turn.
Yeah, thanks, Rowan. And just want to note that the while this fire horse we're moving into is all about passion, there is the potential for it to become, it can be chaotic or manic energy, aimless if untethered or untamed. So it's important that we maintain that, coming back. And I would say the greatest way to honor those who read from the book of life, which are all the ones who have come before and all the ones still here, not that they've ever left, because their imprint, even those who are not physically here, their imprint is still very much here. The book of life is to live. To live. So whatever that looks like to you on your day, whatever ideas you want to create, or whomever you're presented with to help, that's how you can thank them. That's what the message is all about. That's what the Great Awakening is about, is for us to realize that it doesn't have to be some grandiose, fancy, big thing. It can just look like helping the neighbor carry their groceries up to their room. It can look like reaching out and calling someone that pops into our mind, because maybe they need that call. It can look like embarking on a adventure physically somewhere to explore new spaces. It can look like creating a YouTube channel to put my ideas out there and see who resonates with them, see who wants to listen in. It can look like many things, but it's all centered around life. So that's how we can thank and really honor the ones who have sacrificed and came before us, is to live. And the reminders around, things of the efforts of the antichristic reality, the ones that want to scare us back into being afraid of death. We can laugh, we can laugh at those things, not laughing at misery, but laughing at the efforts, the attempts to make literal representations of divine manifest physically, as if we can be afraid or we can be scared by the idea of death. We can laugh at that. So yeah, that's the biggest thing, is just to live. Go ahead.
Yeah, to live. Wow, the timing. You're just literally about to say, I interrupted, but now I'm going to add is to die, if you can. To live is to die. A fantastic Metallica song. I think maybe that would be a good song to listen to at the end of the show. Pardon me. Just everything you're saying was reminding me of this beautiful song. Pardon me. So yeah, that's all.
Yeah, another very Christic band, bringing a very Christic message. Absolutely. So yeah, I see Roxy raised her hand. Go ahead, sister. Hey, Roxy, we're not hearing you if you're trying to speak. Maybe it was an accident. No worries if so. All right. Well, if you didn't want to speak, feel free. And if not, no worries. I see Tracy raising her hand again. Go ahead.
Hey, okay. I wanted to bring up something else that is very current, that might be quite interesting today, January 2nd. The banks will be opening up in Shanghai and implementing the new policy that China has put forth to start on January 1st. I do not have all the understandings of all the stuff. I've just it's sort of like a it's a new policy. So, and I'm not that skilled in discussing the currency markets and all those kind of things. So, not to get in depth about it, but the sort of the historical part of, the movement of what we're seeing, like this is not about investing or anything like that, or about money, per se, values, okay, values of currency, or heavy metals, but that fact when Shanghai what will be happening today with it, and what's going on behind the scenes. I'm not sure if you're paying any attention, Justin, or anybody else here, but it seems kind of crazy, what I've sort of witnessed in Hong Kong, playing out, sort of, and whatever I'm hearing as well. Just listening to a few things on X, that are going. I think it's interesting to see how today plays out. It's kind of all I'm bringing to the table here. I don't have any predictions or nothing like that. I'm not trying to make any, make any personal predictions or anything like that per se. So, but I think it'll be pretty. And then when the New York markets open in the evening, we'll see the responses to what happens today. So yeah. Anybody have any thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's been very fascinating to watch. And as I've been speaking about for years now, as silver and gold as well, but these precious metals being so undervalued and so artificially suppressed, and knowing that was, when anyone asks me for investment advice, or when we talk about all sorts of digital currencies and other things, none of those are nearly as close to as much of a guarantee as the silver. And wow, have we seen that explode in the last few weeks. I mean, this year alone, in the last year, it's gone up. It's doubled in price. But even just the last month or so, it's been just wild to watch. And we see all the efforts of, as Darth mentioned, the old cabal system still having to try and suppress it because it's holding on for dear life because of what that represents when it's let gone. But try as they might, they're not able to. And I laugh because it's largely, of course, there's still cabal minions having to do things and try, but it's also white hats trying to slowly raise that, or slowly take the levers off so that breaks, because if the dam breaks, the whole system collapses. And if they're not quite ready for that, then that could have some more disastrous consequences. So while historically it was the cabal suppressing the price, I imagine most of those levers are being controlled by the white hats at this point. So they're having to hold this facade of a fiat system up. But obviously they're moving in the direction of letting that play out. And yeah, I don't know too much about the Chinese markets, but I know it had something to do with putting a limit on, I think, the amount of exports that could happen, which is just going to send a huge signal to the rest of the world that this is a commodity that is very highly valued, and that's some significant leverage for that to say that that's the case. And so that's going to potentially drive the price up even higher. And yeah, I mean, we have seen nothing yet compared to where that can go. And yeah, so enjoy that show. It's been fun to watch. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next day, and then next week and onwards. It's a fun roller coaster to watch. Of course, it went almost to $80 an ounce this past week, and then they've been fluctuating it back down to like 70, low 70s, but it's coming back up. And so anyway, I don't have any predictions or other than a very strong knowing that it's going to shoot up. As far as when that happens, I don't know exactly, but it seems to be moving that direction, absolutely. And silver being the silver bullet to kill the vampire created cabal system, it certainly is setting itself up to be that way. So yeah, that's a great point to bring up, and thanks for drawing attention to that. And
I held some silver over a year ago, and I had to live off of it. But yeah, it was in the very low range, like I think purchased in the 20s, anyways. And I don't even know what the quote was when it was sold, but not much higher. I didn't really make much off of it, but didn't lose. I didn't lose. So, anyways, but yeah, I mean so the ruling, like there's so many people talking about it, but not the ruling, the new policy of that the limit or a complete block or ban on any silver physical being leaving China. So there's something about a Chinese block or a ban. But like I said, people could be, taking it so literal. Oh, it's a ban of everything. But no, there's obviously details to this. And yes, obviously this is a controlled demolition for sure. So I forget the gematria on that. Do you remember it? But anyway, so that's what this absolutely is. And it's to expose everything, all the workings behind it. So I know it's not just like, it's not just happening naturally or organically. It's not at all. So, but the difference between the price here in Shanghai and the price in New York is like that margin is growing, and they've been trying to close that gap. And what we're just the prediction, the general prediction of today is that gap will no longer be able to be closed. Period. That's what we could be seeing today, witnessing today, is just that sort of that movement. Like it's not going to go crazy today. Like it's not going to explode per se. But I wasn't thinking of that. But just seeing that actual control being finally sort of the levers behind the scenes are losing control. So that will become like an obvious thing as people are watching this play out. But not many people are paying attention to this. I don't think it's it's not really a mainstream thing. It's only people that sort of maybe have a bit of interest in it, So this could go into more of a public knowing, if you will, just sort of seeing the interworkings of, big banks. But it's still not going to be anything that happens today per se that will grab the attention. But I think today is the starting point, if you will, of that, because of that specific new policy being implemented. It was just started yesterday, but today is will be like the first rally, if you will, underneath that new policy. So that will be kind of an interesting thing to see and witness. But yeah, as it plays out today and over the next week or so, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the exposure of who. I don't know. There's like the speculation of what banks own this, what banks don't have, what banks are really, really just like completely screwed. So because they've sold silver on paper and they can't afford to buy it now, and people that want to call on it and they can't come up with it. Not at the I believe it's like at 84. Shanghai was at 84 closing yesterday. So and the difference being New York is like at 70. So anyways, yeah, so that's that. A little bit of talk about silver.
Yeah, and Darth reminded me that Melania wore this, as I put it on the screen. I mean, how much more obvious can you get of a silver dress? Just this shiny silver dress.
Yeah, exactly.
We know that. Yeah, we know that her dresses are always comms. So you can't get any more silver than that. So yeah, if you got any means to get some, I'd highly recommend it. If you got some, I'd hold on to it, because we're going. It's blasting off. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up, and thanks, Darth, for the nod there. And go
In
ahead.
China, they're starting to mass stockpile silver in its raw form, unrefined, and it's just train after train after train loaded with raw silver ore. And China is no longer exporting any silver as of today. And I know just a few days ago, Trump signed an executive order listing silver as a strategic metal, like uranium. So now, if you want to mass export um, silver out of the United States, it requires federal approval. And also, there's been quite a bit of discrepancy between the price of silver in China and silver in America on the exchanges, because the banks here in America and the Western world are desperate to keep the price down. But the demand in Asia for silver is just skyrocketing because everyone needs it for their electronics. Samsung is consuming massive amounts of silver for all the electronics they're producing. And so what's happening is that the paper price of silver is one thing, but the physical price of silver is a different thing, and it's causing quite the discrepancy in the banks. And I really don't see how I really don't see how the price of silver is not going to absolutely skyrocket this year. Um, oh, what an exciting time to be alive! I I wouldn't pick another time to be living.
And you didn't. And here we are. And yes, very much agreed. It is so exciting. And yeah, I'm here for it. So yeah, Rowan, did you wanted to jump in there real quick?
Yes, I did, because this is a good reminder. Something, I've been thinking about all kinds of other stuff, but this is great. There's so many different ways that you can accumulate gold, silver, etc. But the security behind any of these ways of acquiring it is questionable with, well, so many people are lacking any, maybe not any sense of financial literacy, but they really don't know what they're doing. And I feel like we've probably covered this on a couple other shows. But yeah, there's plenty of these things to choose from. So for those who are still learning and just being careful, right? What do you recommend with either getting started or continuing what, when it comes to, I'm not trying to make this all like financial conversation, but like diversifying, like do you use multiple wallets or ways of storing it? Because, security is, I think that's why so many people don't invest in all kinds of things. They don't want to risk things, all that. So, especially in this day and age, like I've had so many people around me seem to get hacked. I've heard some really nasty stories, and they, from what I know, because I don't know them personally, but I don't think they did anything wrong. They just got, they were selected, and it sucks when that happens. So yeah, what do you suggest for that? Where to get started or continue from? Just to make things more secure, like VPNs. I know there's all that, blah blah. But yeah, I'll just let it go there. And thank you.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into a lot of detail on this because my position is really quite simple. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. Digital currencies, in my opinion, are, they're all quite risky. Some less risky than others. There's some ways to hold, there are the cold wallets, or the hard wallets that you can put it on essentially like a flash drive. That's going to be less risky of it being stolen or whatever sort of trading platform you use it or whatever. But there's nothing that's less risky than having a piece of silver that you hold in your hand, and you're in charge of the security of where you store that, and just don't tell people where it is, and it's pretty safe, and if you can, and there are private vault companies that you can hire to store larger amounts. I don't know about those I'd be hesitant to get involved with them without extensive research, but I have heard that there's some that are very reputable and reliable. But the best is just having it yourself, being in your home, in your possession, not trusting anybody else to have anything. And I don't really want to get into the whole digital currency storage rabbit hole right now, because
No, digital currencies are. Pardon me if I misspoke. Yeah, no, I was focusing more on silver, gold, real things. Yeah, so thank you.
Oh, well, you mentioned multiple wallets. So what do you mean by that? I mean, you're talking about multiple
Yeah.
places where you're storing things?
Well, I should have been more specific. Yeah, it was like when it comes to, well, you just made it pretty clear. You hold it in your hand. I mean,
Yeah.
it's pretty secure that way. But there's, yeah, like you mentioned these vaults, and it's, you never know who you're dealing with. That's what I was more trying to specifically ask about, because yeah, people, I think they have this illusion that it's safer. Like that's the whole lesson we've learned about the government. The more responsibility we place outside of ourselves, right? It's like, then who knows what could happen to it? Like, yeah. So that's what I was trying to be more specific about. So yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for clarifying. Yeah.
The only service that I've used to hold metals remotely is a service called Sound Money Wallet, and that was an add-on to 7K metals. I was signed up for 7K metals as a gift and just experimented with it, but I didn't really get too involved with it. But it did have the add-on of Sound Money Wallet, and I believe you can sign up for that without a 7K membership, because I've still retained mine. And to my knowledge, they seem to be very good. I know other people who have used them, and I've had success of even being able to send silver to people, having access to my silver storage. And, it's not a crazy amount, but they seem to be like a reputable company, and I haven't heard any nefarious things. I know Michael Protzman used to talk about Sprots being a good vault to use. I don't know. I have no idea other than what he spoke about. But that would be just research you'd have to do if you want to go that route. But again, the safest is just to have it in your hands, and then you don't have to worry about anybody else. Because it's just, if there's a barrier to you having access to it, then you're ultimately relying on the honesty of whomever is controlling that. And so that would be the limits of my experience there. Again, just going back to, and there's always that talk, even back when I first started getting into silver back in like 2016, 2017, people would say, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. If it's a version of it, because vast majority, and I'm not saying that the ones I've mentioned are necessarily that way. They do seem to be reputable, but there's so much manipulation through paper versions of these, just as Tracy mentioned, and these banks who have sold these paper versions of it, and they don't actually have it. So the vast majority of silver that people think they own is just paper bullshit. It's not real. So, and that's part of the scam. That's how they've suppressed the price. So again, going back to just have it in your hands, and then you don't have to worry about anybody else. So that would be my recommendation. So yeah, I'll pass it over and see if anybody else wants to jump in on any question or topic or take us any direction. Now would be a great time. Hey, Izzy, go ahead. We're not hearing you, Izzy, if you're trying to speak.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you now.
Okay, I'm sorry. I had pushed the wrong button. I was thinking about what you were saying about silver, and I think that saying still goes. If it's not on hand, it's like when you go to a bank and you get all these CDs, and I mean, the banks don't have money. They make money off the money that you put in there. So, if you don't have it on hand, But I do believe in my heart that this year is going to be and I agree with what Darth just said. This is the best time that we couldn't ask for a better time to be alive. And I just know in my heart that this is going to be the most incredible year for everybody. And the way I'm doing it right now is my New Year's resolution is going to be taking one day at a time and making a difference in somebody's life, especially for someone that may never be able to pay you back. You may never see them again, but you just went out of your way to either give them a meal, open the door, whatever. And I feel that if more people did that, and it doesn't take much money of any sort, this world would be just totally awesome. It would rock. But anyway, and I was looking at Darth right now because I noticed that he put Darth Monette Phaedrus, and I'm thinking, I just recently came across some videos regarding the monad, and I don't want to take up the time right now, but I would like to maybe one day, and I'm just suggesting maybe y'all, if you and Darth could one day have a class or something on speaking more about the monad and how it works. And, because Darth, if you're listening, I really enjoyed the video that you put out about the truck, and you had to go get, I forgot what it was called, for your fire. And I saw the snow and everything else. And when you said that, I thought, oh God, he just confirmed that I'm in the right path. And I didn't know if there was any books that I can read. I mean, I'm watching a lot of videos, but I was pulled to knowing more about the monad, if I'm pronouncing it right, just recently. And it's just something that I don't hear too many people talking about it. But, oh, my gosh, I am in total agreement with everything that I'm hearing. I just feel so much more connected to the divine. And so I guess my question would be, would you ever be able to have a class or something? Or because I think Darth had even mentioned on his channel that he might eventually, when he takes time, because I know he's really busy, to put something down about the monad. But is there anything or any guidance or advice that you could give me as to where I could learn more about it? How do you pray now that if the monad, if you are the monad and it's the divine conscious, the divine spark that's in you? And you're talking about people that have taught us to pray and beg and ask, and I don't do that anymore. My New Year's resolution this year is every day I'm going to get up, and I'm just thankful that today is going to be a great day, and tomorrow is going to be better than today, because otherwise we can get caught up in all of the news and the media. I'm going to be doing humanitarian work. And we have been told this for 5 or 6, maybe 7 years. Oh, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Now I don't look at it that way. It's coming in God's timing, but I can make it come based on the way I think and the way I move, for myself. And I just want to be able to make a difference in people's lives. And today I did something very extraordinary that I can help people, and I've done all these little things, and I don't want to brag or anything else, but I was a little hesitant about approaching homeless men, especially being a female. And today I felt that my angel or my guide, Father God, had given me a direction, and I went ahead and jumped on it and did it. And I felt so good to know that I had made a difference in someone's life. And the beauty of it all was I'm not expecting anything in return. And I just know that I'm in the right path. So, so I was more concerned about the monad. If there was any books we could read, or I just finished watching a video, and then I saw that you were having a live chat. I went, oh, no, I got to turn off the TV and listen to Justin. Hopefully Darth is there, too. So anyway, that was just my thing. But about silver, the only thing I can tell you with silver is it's going to grow. It is going to boom in leaps and bounds this year. It's God's money. I mean, that's what, gold and silver, when they plundered it from Pharaoh, when they supposedly in the Bible, how they had left and everything else. But silver is going to be, and it's going to be in high demand, because I think it was Darth that said it. They need it for everything, for cars, computers, phones, and everything. Yeah, gold is going to have a high value, but silver is going to just boom out of here. And when it does, goodbye banking system and the central banks, because they ain't going to be around. So anyway, I don't want to be a doomsdayer, but I just feel that's in my heart, the truth. But anyway, so I can keep going on and on. But anyway, it's so good to be back, Justin. And I'm really glad that, I had to send you a private message. I guess wishing you a happy new year and all that. But it's so good to have you back and I've just grown so much. And that's what I told you I've learned so much from you and Darth, in the past years. And right now I feel like I'm going through a transition where like my spirit is separate from my avatar. I can stand back and see myself, like when I'm meditating, and they say focusing your breath and your mind keeps going. Now I don't. It's like I step back and I can see myself doing what I'm supposed to do, and I just connect to the monad now, and I just love it. I just feel like I'm in a different dimension or a different world, and it's just so exciting. But I will tell you that back in October, when I experienced something like this, being a nurse, a retired nurse, I started thinking of medical problems. And of course, you immediately want to think, oh my God, is it this? Is it that? Well, not more. And I even called the EMS to get checked to make sure. And it wasn't. It was something that I had never experienced before. And it did frighten me there for a moment. And I'm going to say cancel, because I believe that whatever I say out in the universe, well, I will manifest in the spiritual. So I'm very careful about the words that I use. But I am just so, so happy to know that we're in 2026. And I am just, I don't know, I'm just overwhelmed with joy that we have finally reached the point. And then this year is going to be the celebration of the United States, the 250th anniversary, of the United States and freedom and all. Yeah. So I could go on and on. But anyway, so I just wanted to ask you or talk to you or ask you about the monad. And I think Darth just sent me a message. So that's all I had to say. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks for popping on, Izzy. It's always good to hear from you. And I'm going to send this to you in case you didn't see it, but I did post on my other channel through the Eye of JC, which is where I post just kind of like things that I watch. And this was actually something that Darth shared on Facebook, but it was about how to shift our ideas around prayer and instead speak to the monad, which is ultimately you. It gets tricky because if we believe this like egoic identity is the monad, then that's what leads to like psychopathy and potentially doing evil. Because in this form, I am not the monad, but I am connected to the monad. The monad is what animates me. And it is ultimately my awareness and my consciousness. It's the all-encompassing consciousness that permeates all of creation. I am just a refined point of that intense, all-encompassing energy. So one way to visualize it is if you imagine like a funnel, like a funnel coming down at the top of the funnel, which is really like an infinite. Of course, in a picture, you wouldn't be able to paint this, but if you could somehow imagine a funnel that opens up to infinite, all-encompassing, at the top of that funnel is the monad, which is you. And then through the experience, we funnel down that consciousness into a lower and lower form so that we can become more individualized. So somewhere maybe like halfway in that funnel, that's like the soul. That's like our soul, it has a higher form of awareness. And then it comes all the way down to the point, which is your ego, your individualized self. And so the monad is consciousness peering through that funnel to your individualized perspective as the egoic identity, which is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to have an egoic identity. It's necessary in order to have this experience at all. But if we lose ourselves into thinking that this egoic identity is all that there is, and I'm not looking back up through that funnel and saying, okay, no, all that consciousness is funneling down to this form, then that's where it can become tricky. And so the Christ is the the element that's bringing us all to look back up and to remember, oh no, I'm connected to the monad. I am the monad manifest. So even just the word monad, it's the mon, it's you could look at it like it's adding up adding up everything to the one, the mono. It's the one. So it's a word that has been used historically, and it hasn't been one that has really come across my consciousness in as big of a way until pretty recently. And but it's a much more descriptive term. We can still use the terms like God to mean the same thing, but God has been, that term has been pretty tarnished from a religious lens to meaning this externalized, distant thing, where the monad is ultimately you, and you are all things. You're the, it's like the practice of knowing that you are the observer beyond observation. You know, we're not our thoughts. We're not our body. We're not our story. We are the consciousness that is observing all of this. The eye cannot look at itself. The eye sees out, but the eye cannot look at itself. And so in that example, the eye is like the monad, the pure awareness. So yeah, I mean, you can go at it at however many levels and go on it very deeply, and perhaps we will do a more dedicated show on that. But just to give a brief sort of take on it, I'll just share that, and then yeah, I'd love to hear if he has anything he wants to share on it quickly. We are getting a little feedback from your mic, Izzy, so if you can just mute while you're not speaking. It's all good. Yeah, Darth, did you want to jump in on that topic and share anything on the monad briefly, and maybe we can go deeper into it later?
Sure. Yes, there's definitely going to have to be a later, because it's a powerful topic, and it changes things. And it's changed things for me personally, because I have always operated from the law of attraction, contractual, uh, spiritual force or magic perspective, where I was very much doing battle with my own nature and doing battle with the world energetically in order to impose my will upon the world, to make things happen personally for myself the way that I wanted them to do, or to happen. Um, and that was okay when I was at that point in my journey. However, as I've matured and learned about the monad, um, and about the true nature of the absolute source, and what it means for the reality that we live in, it changed things, because the monad does not operate out of effort. It operates out of authority. And so when our source of strength is no longer our own ego, but now we're leaning upon the monad, or the absolute love, or absolute divine, that spirit. Um, it takes the struggle out of life, because we were never meant to live in the beast system. We were never meant to have to contend, to struggle every day just to take another step forward, to keep the lights on, to put food on the plate, to keep our children safe. And the thing is that when you're praying to a God that's external of who you are, and when you're praying to a God in which there's contract with a God where you may or may not have his approval, and he may or may not answer. It's such a it could be a real terrible place to be. And And that's not what it's like having a relationship with the true self, the monad. And so what the monad is, very, very quickly, very basically, the monad is the true creator of reality. And what has happened is that, as a byproduct of the creation of reality, and it's inescapable and it just sort of happens, that there is what appears to be a false god, and the god is not inherently evil. He just doesn't have a connection to the monad himself. Okay, so imagine if imagine if you pop up in reality and you don't know how you got there, and you appear to have created everything around you, and you go silent and you look for God and you don't find God, and it just seems to be you, and you seem to be the highest person there. I mean, what sort of person would you be? And then and then you find that you're dependent upon the people that you make, and you're dependent upon, if you find out that your relationship is parasitic to your surroundings. And so what has happened is that there's a false god that when most people are praying, they're just praying to God, and they don't specify in their mind who they're praying to, and they don't really specify the relationship. And so those prayers they're not directed to the monad. They're directed to the false god, the egoic, contractual, parasitic god that runs the physical construct, or appears to run the physical construct. And so a lot of people, their kid is sick or their bills are due, and they're praying, God, please help me. Have I been good enough? They don't know if they've been good enough. They don't know if there's some secret sin. They don't know if God's going to be in a bad mood, because that God is separate from them. And those prayers are not effective. That's not an effective way to deal with the world. But the monad supersedes all of that, including that false appearance of the God, and it's always within. And so that's the beauty of it, because that false God is separate from you, and it's not always accessible, and it isn't always, and he's not always on good terms with you. But the monad is always accessible to you, because it's always within. It's who you are. And so what's happening is we're not learning about the monad, we're remembering that we're the monad. And when we're ready to remember that we are monad, then the information about the monad reveals itself to you. So there's all kinds of writings about the monad in the apocryphal works. And I actually feel really driven to put something together, not just for the group, but I really feel that I need to organize this for myself. But I'm eager and happy to share it with the group. So I'm going to do that as soon as possible. I'll probably commit to having that done in a couple of weeks. So if I publicly commit to that, then I'll make myself do it. Otherwise, I'll be too busy. But yes, I want to do this, and it's going to be great when we get together.
Awesome. Thanks for that. It's always exciting to hear, and I always love your writings and what you put together. Of course, we will wait patiently, so no pressure, but that would be awesome. And thanks, Izzy, for the great question. Did you have any follow-up on that?
No, I just wanted to, if you get feedback, let me know, because I'm doing it on my phone. Just one real quick thing, Darth. If there's anything that I can do to help you, let me know. Could you please send me, I know at one time, I know Justin was living with you, as to whether, I know financially you could use extra money, and I don't mind sending you, and that's just between you and I, well, between you and I, obviously I'm in the speaker, everyone's going to hear this, but if you could send me something, either private message on how to send you a donation, because I know that requires a lot of time and effort and a lot of cost, and I know you've got a lot to do. So I am so happy that you have this passion to want to do that. And this just resonates with me. And it's just letting me know that I am on the right path. And it's just, yeah. So I just want to thank you both. And yeah, if you could send me any info that I need to get in contact with you, Darth, please do. Okay. Thank you, guys.
I'll do that. That's very gracious of you to offer that. Also, on my channel, I just added I just added a subcategory called monad, and I put a book on there. So that's something people can read to get started. And any information that I put together on the monad, I'll put to that subcategory on my channel.
Thanks, Darth, and thanks, Izzy, for the kindness and just recognition. Yeah, just any way to help in that. And if anyone else is feeling called to help support Darth and all the work that he does, any extra freedom he has just means that more time can be dedicated to projects like this. So that's always very appreciated. If you need assistance with finding those ways to offer support in that way, don't hesitate to reach out. I can certainly direct you to where that can be accessible. You can find that. You can find those links on his group as well, which is on Telegram under House Jedediah, and that is House Jedediah Chat. So t.me/House Jedediah, so JEDIDIAH chat, which you can find that. And if you have trouble finding that, just let me know and I'll get you the link. So appreciate everyone's consideration there. And let's do one more question today. And this was a written question that we got just recently, but Darth had put some information together and I think it'd be a good one to go over. So let me just read off the question. This one came from Andrea Hogan and said, "Hi, Justin, I'm interested in involving my understanding of quantum physics. How it is possible that we can bend and shape time, move between timelines, and affect future outcomes with our attention and intention. Would you be able to provide your insight on this topic? Thank you." So, Darth, do you want to start us off, or do you want me to play the video that you sent quickly, or how would you like to proceed on that one?
Okay, so go ahead and play the first 2 minutes and 9 seconds of that video I sent you, and then I can expound on it and answer any questions.
All right, here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin.
Pull this up here.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin with a confession. Nobody, and I mean nobody, truly understands quantum physics. Now relax, that's not an insult to your intelligence. It's a compliment to your courage for being here anyway. Because tonight we're not here to master quantum mechanics. We're here to stop being afraid of it. We're here to see that it isn't mystical nonsense, nor incomprehensible math magic. It's simply nature behaving in a way we didn't expect. And that's where all the fun begins. Look around you. The chair you're sitting on feels solid. The floor feels real. Your body feels like a well-defined thing with edges. This makes sense because at our scale, the universe follows rules that are polite, predictable, and mostly reasonable. But shrink yourself down, smaller than a cell, smaller than an atom, smaller than the nucleus, and suddenly the universe stops being polite. It starts misbehaving. At the quantum level, particles don't behave like tiny billiard balls. They don't have neat positions and well-defined paths. They don't even agree to exist in just one place at a time. Instead, they behave like possibilities, not maybes in the philosophical sense, but real, measurable, mathematical possibilities that interfere with one another like ripples on water. This is the first shock. Nature is not made of things. It is made of probabilities. Now, let me warn you about something very important. If at some point you think, oh, I get it now, you almost certainly don't. And that's perfectly fine. Quantum physics is not about building comforting mental pictures. It's about accepting that the universe is under no obligation to make sense to our intuition.
So I'm just going to stop that video there. And yeah, feel free to go ahead, Darth. I can pull up the other pictures that you sent me, wherever you'd like me to go next.
Sure. So that gentleman was Richard Feynman. Died in 88. And he wrote the math for quantum physics. And even he really understands quantum physics. And there's a reason for that. What quantum physics says it's about, and what it's for, and there's what it really is. So I actually don't believe in quantum physics. I believe in faith, because God did not use science to make reality. He used faith, and he used. So when the question is asked, how is it possible that we can bend space and time, and how we can affect probabilities, and what does quantum physics have to say about that? Quantum physics actually doesn't say that at all. The scientists that believe in quantum physics and believe in that, they actually don't believe in the law of attraction. They don't believe in faith. And so quantum physics wasn't meant to support the idea of faith. And when we use it to promote faith, we're actually misusing the tool. It's like corporations are meant to enslave the individual. However, I can form a corporation and use it to educate people about the dangers of corporations, right? So before there was, all right. Joanna is saying that I'm rubber banding and that there's an echo.
It's coming through pretty good for me.
Okay.
So
when
it has been for me rubber banding. Yeah, that is.
Yeah,
All right,
Tracy,
all right.
I think that might be in your end, Tracy, because you've been rubber banding a bit for me. So I think you're good, Darth.
All right, maybe somebody has a mic open, because I'm hearing a pretty strong echo.
I leave and come back.
All right, I'll do that real quick.
So yeah, just while he's coming back, the idea, anything from a materialistic science perspective is all based on physicality being absolutely real, and even things like particle physics, and even some of the ways that this scientist spoke about particle physics, and how particles are at the very baseline of everything. But ultimately, it's not. It's a field. It's waves. It's not particles. And it's not even really that, but that's closer to describing what is ultimately indescribable, which is what Darth is alluding to with this faith-oriented, etheric creation that we live in. And it's not something that can be put in a box or is tangible in that sort of way. So yeah, just wanted to add that real quickly while he's coming back on.
All right, I'm back. All right. So before there was quantum physics, There was just what was called classical physics. And classical physics works very well until you need to be very precise and you're describing things that are very small. And then what happens is that the studies start to show that the physical construct of reality, it isn't real. And that's because it is true. Reality isn't real. The only thing that's real is God. Nothing else is real. The rest of reality is created by God obscuring parts of himself from himself. The fact that God is hiding parts of himself from himself is why there's a justice, and why I exist, and why trees exist, and the grass and sky. Nothing exists except for God. However, science needs, or the cabal of parasites, they need to separate us from our true nature. And so there is this concept called science. And then there's a subset of science called quantum theory. And what that's trying to do is explain the world around us. And within quantum theory, there's an effect called the observation effect, or the measurement effect. And what it says is that things behave differently when they're being measured. And so scientists they don't teach that effect because they're trying to propose the law of attraction. They're not trying to propose free will or free choice, and that our watching things change what happens. They're just doing science. And so when we refer to the observation effect or the measurement effect, and then we say, see, the law of attraction is real, and this is evidence. Scientists are actually very offended by it. However, these scientists and science itself is just another false religion. The only thing that's real is God, faith, and then the experience. And all of reality around us is only works the way that it does by consensus. So we all believe that reality works a certain way. And so that's why it works that way. Even Richard Feynman says that he has no idea what energy is. And so quantum physics doesn't even really agree with itself. So
Hey
that's
guys, I'm getting an echo on my end. I don't know if everybody else is. Can I ask if anybody else is hearing that?
I'm not getting an echo. It's sounding fine to me, but I am curious if anyone else is experiencing issues.
I could
Yeah,
hear
it's
it.
really bad.
So am I.
Even Lila was echoing.
All right. Well, maybe it's just Telegram having some glitches right now. Yeah, like I said, it's not giving me any issues, but maybe this could be a topic that we pick back up on next week if this isn't.
That's fine. I've turned off my Bluetooth, or everyone else was doing too, and it wasn't doing it before.
Yeah, that sounds a little bit better on this end, but I just wanted to let you know.
And now it's echoing. Lila.
All right. Well, go ahead, Darth, and see if this works with this new way.
All right. So, yeah, I'm still hearing my voice. Basically, to sum it up, quantum physics was never meant to support the idea of faith. It was just an extenuation of traditional science in order to explain things that were very small. And they are actually quite offended that we're taking their quantum theory and then using it to support the ideas of faith. So putting aside quantum theory and putting aside, science, that's why it's important to develop our own personal experience with our own spirit and our own connection to God, because our own personal experience with God transcends ideas like science, transcends what we expect from the physical world. And as far as like exactly how the law of attraction works and how our faith can actually change the physical construct and make things work around us, it's because when God exists as infinite absolute possibilities, and so every timeline of what could possibly happen exists. And what happens is that when we exercise choice and when we exercise free will and we exercise faith, what happens is there's like all these various timelines that we can go into, but the faith and the authority of the divine within us selects the outcome and the timeline of what we need to happen for the best possible divine thing to occur. And so when she asks, how is it possible that we can bend and shape time, move between timelines, and affect future outcomes with our attention and intention? It's because the physical thing doesn't exist. Time doesn't exist. Future isn't actually an absolutely real thing. The only thing that's real is God, and the only thing that's real is our choice. And then that produces the experience. It's how the construct was actually made. But quantum physics doesn't actually exist. It's just a system of understanding reality, but it was never meant to promote spirituality.
Yeah, exactly. It's trying to take the scientific approach of scientifically describing faith, or the underlying nothingness that is consciousness. Yeah. So it will always fall short. Yeah, so that was a good little description. I'm sure there's a lot more we could get into there. But thank you for describing that. And sorry for the technical difficulties there, guys. Hopefully that came through clearly.
All right. If I can just add one more thing. So quantum physics is really just a couple of principles. It's the wave particle duality. Okay. So they're saying that reality acts like both a wave and a particle. They're saying that reality is quantization. That means that reality comes in specific amounts. There's what's called Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, and that means that you can never know everything about something at the same time. So you can know something's position, or you can know its momentum, but you can never know the exact position and the momentum at the same time. There's a principle called superposition, and that means that a single particle can be in multiple places at the same time. Okay. Then there's the measurement effect. I discussed that a little bit. There's the entanglement effect. That's that two or more particles can become linked. So if something happens to one particle, it automatically affects another particle, even if they're not touching, no matter how far apart they are. And then there's something called the Schrodinger equation, and that's 90% of quantum physics. So it's not even really, it's not an explanation. It's just a set of principles. They don't understand why it does that. So like there's the principle that, if you do something to one particle, it affects the other. But they don't have any explanation for why that's so. It's just a principle that they've noticed. It's like if a caveman walked up to a computer and just started hitting buttons. And eventually he might notice how to turn the screen brighter or dimmer, but he doesn't really know why it's happening. So quantum physics doesn't give an explanation for how reality is. It's just half a dozen principles as how to manipulate reality. But it's not actually an explanation. And they're very, very offended that we're using it for spiritual purposes.
Yeah, great stuff. Appreciate you for that. I think that was an excellent answer for that question. So thanks for the great question, Andrea. And yeah, I don't have anything more to add to that. So yeah, I think this would be a great time to start winding down today. This has been a great discussion, great conversation. Really happy to be back doing this with y'all, and we'll keep on keeping on with these. So I'm sure we'll do it again next week. As far as the watch parties, I'm not sure when we'll resume. I'm trying to stay off screens when after dusk. So if I do them anytime soon, it would be at a amended time, but I might also just wait until after the next few days to just finish up with this 12 Holy Nights practice, and then we'll resume those. And like I said, I've got lots of exciting things in the pipeline, lots of fun projects that I'm going to be working on, lots of fun interviews. So stay tuned for all of that. And yeah, just appreciate everyone for being here. So I'm going to play us a song as we close out. Like I said, I'm not able to do that on the recording. So if you're listening to the recording, sorry, but I'll give the song title and you can look it up yourself. I'm going to be playing the song, another song by Jim James called State of the Art. And we'll forgo the lyrical breakdown, and you can just listen to the song. So I hope everyone has a wonderful evening, day, wherever you are. Appreciate everybody for being here. And yeah, we'll talk to you next time. Take care, everyone.